People say silence is golden. I used to believe that. Then my wife started coming home late, and silence became the heaviest thing in the house. Her name was Melanie. 10 years together, 6 of them married, 4 of them trying to pretend we still were. If you'd asked me back then, I'd have said we were solid, comfortable, predictable, even. I was a high school history teacher. She ran her own bakery downtown, and every Sunday we argued over how to fold fitted sheets. Then came the paperweight. It was a small thing, smooth and black, a gift from some vendor, she claimed. She brought it home one Thursday, dropped it on my desk like it was nothing. "What's this?" I asked, turning it over. "Guy from the food supply company gave it to me," she said, kicking off her heels. "Some kind of promotional thing." I nodded. It didn't say the company's name. No logo. Just a date engraved on the bottom. February 12th. We were in October. I didn't ask more questions. Maybe I should have. But I chalked it up to one of those weird industry freebies. Besides, we had dinner with her parents that night, and if you've ever been cornered by her dad's stories about his amateur fencing days, you'd know why I dropped it. Days passed. Then weeks. The paperweight stayed on my desk, watching. I noticed Melanie started texting more, smiling at her phone like it was telling better jokes than I ever did. "You look happy," I said one night. She looked up, startled. "Oh, yeah, just a funny meme from Heather." Heather, her best friend. Except Heather had moved to Chicago 6 months ago and wasn't exactly known for her meme game. Still, I didn't pry. Because silence, in marriage, often wears the costume of trust. And I wore the costume well. Until the hotel receipt showed up. It was tucked between the pages of my old Hemingway collection, like a dog-eared secret waiting to be found. I wasn't snooping. Honestly, I was looking for a quote I used to love for my senior class essay prompt. Instead, I found a folded slip of thermal paper, barely clinging to its ink. Hotel Grambrook. Room 214. Check-in, September 29th. Check-out, September 30th. Guest, M. Parker. Melanie Parker. The Grambrook was only 30 minutes away from our house. A wedding venue, mostly. Sometimes used for conferences. Definitely not the kind of place a woman visits alone unless her Netflix subscription suddenly stopped working. I stared at it for a long time, like maybe the numbers would rearrange themselves if I blinked hard enough. Then I slid it back between the pages and shut the book like I was sealing a confession. That night, I didn't confront her. I made dinner. Stir-fry. We ate in silence, chopsticks tapping porcelain. She complimented the sauce. I told her I'd used too much soy. She laughed, and I wanted to ask her who she laughed with in room 214. But I didn't. I waited. Because I've always believed people will hang themselves with the right amount of rope and silence. And sure enough, the next day, fate handed me a full spool. She left her phone on the kitchen counter. Face down. Charging. 10 minutes into her shower, the screen lit up. "Had a dream about you last night. Room 214. You wore the blue thing I like. No name. Just a number. A local area code." I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need to. I just stood there, looking at it glow like a guilty lantern in the dark. Let me tell you something about being betrayed. It's not loud. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or a villain's monologue. It whispers. And that night, it whispered in the sound of her turning off the shower, humming that same stupid tune she always hummed when she was up to something. I stayed in the kitchen, pretending to grade papers. Pretending I hadn't just seen her lover's text light up our marriage like a neon sign. She came downstairs wrapped in a towel, her hair twisted into a wet halo. "What are you working on?" "Just the usual," I said. "Thinking about doing a lesson on the Cold War. You know, betrayal, paranoia, hidden agendas. Feels relevant." She smiled. "Sounds dramatic." "Oh, you'd be surprised." She poured herself a glass of wine. No shaking hands. No shifty eyes. If guilt was a perfume, she'd long since stopped wearing it. That's when I knew. This wasn't new. Whatever this was, it had a blueprint. A timeline. And I was going to find it. The next morning, while she left early for the farmer's market, I started digging. I'm not proud of it. But when your gut's screaming while your heart plays dumb, you learn to stop being polite and start being thorough. Emails. Private folders on her laptop. Bank statements with little red flags pretending to be dinner charges. And then the Dropbox account. She hadn't logged out. Tucked between catering invoices and bakery photos was a folder named Event Planning. Click. Subfolder 214. Photos. Blurred and grainy, like stolen memories. A blue dress draped over hotel sheets. A man's jacket on the back of a chair. Her lipstick tube on a glass counter. No faces. Just clues. Pieces of a puzzle someone never thought I'd be smart enough or angry enough to put together. That's when it hit me. She didn't think I'd look. She counted on me trusting her. On me being the quiet husband with a routine and a slow fuse. But I wasn't quiet anymore. I was building something. And like any good blueprint, it had a final draft. Let's talk about intuition. That sixth sense people romanticize in movies, the gut feeling that something's off. I used to think it was just a cliché, something invented to make boring people sound mystical. Until I saw his face. It was a Wednesday night. Melanie said she was hosting a small tasting at the bakery for a potential investor. Apparently, she needed me to be there. It'll look more grounded if the husband shows up, she said, while adjusting her earrings. I hadn't been invited to one of her tastings in over a year. But now? Suddenly, I was set dressing. We arrived separately. Her idea, not mine. You know how flaky you are with timing, she said. I nodded. I'd already learned to pick my battles, and this wasn't the one. When I walked into the bakery, everything looked too perfect. The display case gleamed. The table was set with candles. Wine glasses sparkled like crystal eyes. And there he was. The man in the photos. Jacket now on, smile now polished. Hand extended like he hadn't been the faceless shadow draped over my wife in room 214. Daniel, he said, shaking my hand. You must be Alex. Yep, I said, gripping back just slightly too hard. And you must be the money. He laughed, like it was a charming joke. Like he wasn't standing 5 feet from the husband of the woman he was defiling behind monogrammed hotel curtains. Melanie watched us closely, her face perfectly neutral. Like a bartender watching two drunks decide if they're going to fight or hug. So, I said, sitting across from him at the tasting table, what exactly are you investing in? The pastries or the pastry chef? Daniel grinned. Both are exceptional. But mainly the business. I believe in supporting artists. Interesting, I said. And how long have you believed in this particular artist? His eyes flickered, just briefly. Enough to tell me I'd hit a nerve. Melanie coughed and started pouring wine. Daniel's been a loyal customer for months, she said. Came in during the brunch festival back in August. Ah, August, I said, swirling the wine. That was a hot month, wasn't it? Daniel shifted in his chair. Yeah, I remember it being intense. I smiled and took a sip. The rest of the dinner was a charade held together by crusty bread, thin laughs, and the tightrope tension of people pretending not to know what everyone knew. Daniel complimented the lemon tart like it had saved his life. Melanie blushed like she hadn't been caught. And me? I played the part, smiling, nodding, asking about financial projections like I wasn't staring at the man who had her perfume on his skin. But here's the thing about betrayal, it makes you hyper-aware. Every glance, every awkward pause, every slightly too familiar touch. It all reads like Morse code when you know what to listen for. After dessert, Daniel stepped outside to take a call. I followed. The alley behind the bakery was narrow, dimly lit, and quiet. He didn't hear me approach. Nice night, I said, casually. He jumped. Yeah, sure is. I gotta ask, I said, is this your thing? Invest in small businesses, sleep with their owners. He blinked, confused. Then recovered quickly. I think you've had too much wine. I took a step closer. I think you've had too much of my wife. Daniel's smirk vanished. Look, I don't know what she told you. Not a thing, I interrupted. That's what makes it so beautiful. I found out all by myself. He started to speak, then thought better of it. I watched him, studied him. Not a man burdened by guilt, just annoyed he got caught. The kind of guy who thinks apologies are optional and consequences are temporary. I clapped him on the shoulder, hard enough to make him flinch. Just remember, Daniel, every bakery has a back door. And not everything sweet goes down easy. I left him in that alley with his phone still in his hand and the smell of his own sweat creeping up his collar. Back inside, Melanie was gathering plates like nothing happened. Like her whole world wasn't about to unravel. How did it go? She asked, avoiding my eyes. Lovely, I said. He's charming. Definitely the investing type. She nodded, relieved. I knew you two would get along. Oh, we did, I said, reaching for my coat. We're already planning a second date. She laughed, a little forced. Don't be weird. I kissed her on the cheek. We're past weird, Mel. We're somewhere between a rom-com and a crime documentary. She gave me a confused look, but I was already walking out. By the time I got home, I had a plan. Because here's the truth. I don't do revenge out of rage. That's too easy. Too messy. I do it out of clarity. Precision. You can forgive a moment of weakness. But a dinner date with your wife's affair partner? That's a declaration of war. Most men make two mistakes when they discover infidelity. 1. They confront too soon. 2. They try to win her back. I wasn't most men. The next morning, I set the plan in motion. While Melanie showered, I brewed the coffee. Strong, just how she liked it. While she dried her hair, I kissed her forehead. Gentle, just how she'd never deserved it. We were the perfect couple, at least for the world to see. And that was the trick. Make her think I knew nothing, that she was still in control, still scripting the play. But I had stolen the pin. The first move? Her phone. Melanie was careless with it. She'd grown too bold, too confident. That's the thing about lies. They make people sloppy. While she took a call in the laundry room, I slipped into her phone using the password I'd guessed months ago, her bakery's opening date. Easy. Inside was everything. Messages, voice notes, pictures, hotel bookings under fake names. Even one titled Daniel Kiss Mark, with a string of heart emojis that nearly made me laugh out loud. I didn't delete anything. I copied. The photos, the texts, the audio clips, especially the ones where she described me as deadweight with a penchant, those were gold. I moved everything to a hidden folder on my laptop. A little drive called New Recipes, because irony still matters. Next came the finances. Melanie had always trusted me with the numbers. Taxes, budgets, investments. She baked. I calculated. That was our balance. What she didn't know was that 2 years ago, I'd quietly opened a secondary account. Nothing nefarious, just a little, just-in-case, cushion. But now? It became the lifeboat I was rowing toward while she danced on the Titanic with Daniel. I diverted our automatic deposits to the new account, one small transaction at a time. Never enough to flag anything. Just enough to starve the joint account slowly, invisibly. I also changed the beneficiary on my life insurance. Not to her. Not anymore. Then, I made my biggest move yet. I hired Daniel. You read that right. See, what Melanie didn't know, what Daniel definitely didn't know, was that I had partial ownership in a private consultancy firm. Nothing flashy. Just a group of retired professionals who advise startups and small businesses on operations. I usually stayed quiet in the background. But not this time. I called my partner, Stephen. You ever hear of a guy named Daniel Calloway? I asked. Stephen grunted. Sounds familiar. Why? Check his LinkedIn. Ex-banker turned independent investor. Claims to help bakeries and boutique shops expand their vision. Real charming type. I hate him already. Good. I want you to offer him a consulting gig. Make it tempting. Big potential. Low risk. Stephen chuckled. You want to bury this guy or promote him? Neither, I said. I want to learn him. By Friday, Daniel was drooling over a fake opportunity with our firm. We fed him details, fake projections, juicy potential buy-ins. He bit hard. We kept it going. I wanted him distracted, busy chasing his next business conquest, while I torched the one he thought he already won. At home, Melanie was floating on a cloud. She started leaving little hints that she wanted us to rethink our future. You know, she said one night while we were brushing our teeth, maybe we could take a trip. Just us. Maybe try again. I nodded thoughtfully, spitting toothpaste into the sink. Sure. Let's plan something nice. Somewhere quiet. Quiet, like the lawyer's office I'd already scheduled for the following week. But before that, I needed one more thing. I called her mother. Now, I know what you're thinking, why drag family into it? But you don't understand. Melanie's mother, Louise, was a fire-breathing dragon in pearls. She adored me. Told everyone I was the only man who ever tamed her daughter's wild streak. And more importantly, she hated Daniel. Oh, that one, she said when I casually mentioned his name. That greasy little finance boy? He's like cologne that won't wash off. He tried to sell me on Bitcoin last Thanksgiving. What's he sniffing around Melanie for now? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Louise knew. And she, God bless her, reacted exactly how I hoped she would. Like a nuclear missile with a martini. I heard from a mutual friend that by Sunday, Louise had accidentally posted one of Melanie's beach selfies with Daniel on her Facebook. Tagged her. Captioned it, Sunset with the mystery investor. Winking face. Melanie came storming into the house that night like a hurricane. What did you tell my mother? She shouted. I looked up from my book. Deadpan. What? You know what I'm talking about. Why is she posting photos of me and Daniel? I don't know, I said. Maybe she believes in transparency. She glared at me. But something flickered behind her eyes, fear. The kind that grows when the script starts slipping out of your hands. For once, she didn't have a comeback. She stormed off. I waited 10 minutes before whispering to myself, checkmate's coming. The day I dropped the hammer, the sun was out. Birds chirping. Neighbors mowing lawns like everything was right in the world. It was a Tuesday, deliberate. No one expects betrayal on a Tuesday. I'd been patient. I'd watched Melanie skip around our house like a woman untouchable, floating from phone call to wine glass to bakery meeting. Meanwhile, I was laying wires, testing pressure points, planting landmines she didn't see until they clicked. Now, all I had to do was press send. It wasn't dramatic. No fireworks, no speeches. Just a neat little email. Subject line, just so you know. Inside, a Dropbox link with a note. Sometimes the truth doesn't come out. Sometimes it gets delivered. Recipients? Her family, our friends, her staff, and my favorite, Daniel's wife. Yes, turns out Mr. Businessman had a spouse in a condo across town. A woman named Claire Calloway. I found her on a charity blog, smiling beside a rescued greyhound, unaware she was married to a man who treated loyalty like it was optional. Claire got the same link. Same note. No extra words. I didn't need them. Screenshots, voice notes, hotel receipts. All time-stamped. Labeled. Categorized. They say revenge is best served cold. I served it flash frozen. 22 minutes after the email went out, my phone started buzzing like it was possessed. I ignored every call, every message. I wasn't interested in her explanation. I was waiting for the fallout. And boy, it came fast. First, a text from Melanie. What did you do? Then, are you insane? My mother is calling me nonstop. Why would you do this? Then silence. I imagine she was too busy taking grenades from every direction. She'd spent months building a perfect lie. I turned it into a group project. I went to lunch. A quiet little Italian place she never liked because it smelled like old cheese. I ordered her least favorite dish and enjoyed every bite. When I got home, Melanie was already there, sitting at the dining table like a queen who just found out her crown was fake. You sent it to everyone? She asked, voice brittle. I set my keys down. Yep. My mother won't speak to me. Can't blame her. That woman worships wedding vows like scripture. Melanie's hands trembled slightly. She looked nothing like the woman who used to float through our house like she owned the air. No makeup. No earrings. Just a tired, cornered woman in a wrinkled blouse. You humiliated me. I nodded. That was the idea. She leaned back in the chair, trying to regain her composure. You think this makes you the better person? No, I said. It just makes me the honest one. Her eyes narrowed. This isn't justice. This is revenge. You're damn right. And for once, she didn't argue. Because the truth? She knew it. This wasn't me lashing out. This was me leveling the scale. You didn't have to include Claire, she said, quieter now. That was cruel. She deserved the truth. Same as me. She didn't even know we were seeing each other, Melanie whispered, as if that somehow justified it. Exactly. Silence again. Heavy. Final. Then, like clockwork, Daniel called. I watched the name flash on her screen and listened to the panic in his voice through the speaker. Mel, what the hell is going on? Claire's throwing stuff. She knows everything. Melanie didn't answer. Just stared at me like I was some new version of a man she hadn't prepared for. You need to fix this. Daniel yelled. I trusted you. That's when I started laughing. Melanie hit Andy on the call, her face burning. You're enjoying this. No, I said, stepping closer. I'm just finally breathing. Her eyes shimmered, maybe with anger, maybe with tears. But I didn't care anymore. The switch had flipped. The rope had run out. I want a divorce, I said. Official. Fast. And clean. I figured, she muttered. I'll let you keep the bakery. You'll need it. She blinked. You're not going to take it from me? No, I said. Taking it would imply I still wanted something from you. That stung. I could tell. She bit her lip like she wanted to scream or beg, maybe both. But instead, she nodded. You were never this cold, she whispered. I was never this alone, I replied. I walked past her and headed to the bedroom, where I'd already packed a duffel bag with 3 days of clothes and my laptop. Before I left, I paused in the doorway. Oh, and Mel. She looked up. Next time you cheat, pick someone single. Less paperwork. Then I walked out. The strange thing about the days that followed was the quiet. Not the sad kind. Not the kind that haunts you when someone's gone. No, this was earned silence. Deserved. Melanie didn't call. She didn't beg. She didn't text me paragraphs about working through this or how I'd misunderstood everything. No desperate monologues. Just stillness, which, honestly, was the closest thing to an apology I ever got. I moved into a short-term rental. 1 bedroom. Smelled like old carpet and recent divorce. The coffee maker sputtered like it hated its job. But it was mine. No ghosts. No perfume on the pillow. I got used to it fast. I kept working. Kept eating. Kept breathing. One night, I sat on the tiny balcony with a beer and realized I didn't feel ruined. I felt rebuilt. Daniel's life fell apart faster than Melanie's. Claire didn't just leave, she went public. Apparently, she had a bit of a social media following. One long post with screenshots and a well-lit selfie of her holding the divorce papers later, and Daniel went from local business angel to creep in a tie. Last I heard, he tried to sue Claire for defamation. She countersued with evidence of financial misconduct. Then he tried to go private for healing. Translation: vanished from the internet and probably cried into a steering wheel. Melanie kept her bakery. That was part of the deal. But she had to rebuild her reputation without me and without Daniel's funds. Rumor had it business dipped. Some of her old staff left. Word gets around when your marriage blows up and someone posts about it with a Dropbox link. Funny how truth spreads faster than frosting. 3 months later, I got a letter. Real paper. Real envelope. Handwritten. It was from Melanie. Alex, I don't expect you to read this whole thing, but I'm writing it anyway. I messed up. I know that's a pathetic understatement. I disrespected you, our vows, our home. I didn't just hurt you. I betrayed a man who never once deserved it. I won't insult you with excuses. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know. I see it now. The quiet ways you loved me. The steadiness. The trust. And how I twisted that into something I could take for granted. You didn't just leave the house, Alex. You left the version of me that never deserved you. I hope you're doing okay. M. I folded the letter and slid it into the drawer. Didn't respond. What would I say? She wasn't wrong. A year passed. Quietly. Steadily. I moved again, this time into a place with warm wood floors and windows that caught the morning sun just right. I started dating, eventually. Carefully. No rebound. No drama. Just coffee dates and honest conversations. The pain? Still there, tucked deep somewhere. But dull. Like a scar that reminds you of the lesson more than the wound. One evening, I saw Melanie at a grocery store. She was thinner. Her hair shorter. Eyes softer. She smiled. Not the flirty kind. Not the guilty kind. Just human. I nodded. She nodded back. And that was it. No confrontation. No closure speech. Just two people who used to be everything, now just strangers in adjacent checkout lines. As I drove home, windows down, wind in my face, I didn't feel the urge to look back, because I'd already taken my revenge. Not with fire, not with fists, but by walking away calm, whole, and free while they watched the ashes settle in the space I used to stand. And that was enough.